The Air Jordan 1 is one of the most culturally significant and most iconic sneakers of all time. Since it first came out in 1985, it has been re-released a record 372,989 times. It has tested the spectrum of colors available and identifiable by the human naked eye. Owing to the sheer volume of releases in the multiple different colorways and the multiple different takes on the Air Jordan 1, is it any wonder that in 2022, people are kind of bored with them? What's going on, you fellas? I don't know if you can actually tell, but I've got like a little bump on my lip, which is from one of my dogs who I was sort of playing around with. Nicely. Down. Dead. Stand up. Good boy. I wanted to talk to you today about my Air Jordan 1 collection and also just talk briefly about the Jordan 1 and its kind of like rise and fall over the past few years. I used to buy Jordan 1s when they would go on sale. One of the big attractions to me about the Jordan 1 was the fact that they came in typically at a much lower retail price point than, say, for example, Jordan 3s or 4s or 11s. But then they would always go on sale, with a select few exceptions. Now, notwithstanding original colorways like the Chicago's or say the 2016 Bread release, most Jordan 1s kind of didn't really have the broad popular appeal that they would go on to have in more recent times. And so I want to point to the Chicago 1 from the Off-White 10 as being one of the main catalyzers for the uptick in Jordan 1 popularity. Like when the Chicago 1 Off-White came out, that kind of took people's eyes off the very popular at the time Yeezy models and got them back on Nike again. So I would almost credit the Chicago 1 with being the reason why Jordan 1 hype took off in the way it did in more recent times. After the Chicago 1 hype with the Off-Whites, the following year there was another really important Jordan 1 collab with Union. And initially the Union 1s weren't reselling for a crazy amount of money, but in the following years they would end up like skyrocketing in price. And I think the main reason that the Union 1 collab is so popular and so sought after is really just because of its simplicity. The simple things done right are often the most effective, and the Union 1 collab, in my opinion, was, or is rather, the perfect example of that. In 2019, you have the Jordan 1 High Travis Mocha, which was an incredibly popular silhouette and to this day is still a real holy grail for a lot of people. Coming into 2020 and the pandemic, we had an absolute change in the way people were looking at sneakers in general. More and more people are online, more and more people are consuming social media content, which is predicated on pretty pictures and conspicuous consumerism. And so having these sneakers in your possession and having an Instagram account and maybe like a decent camera was a surefire way to fast track your Instagram success and gain a lot of followers, and in the same aspect give a lot of notoriety to the sneaker culture. And so with COVID came, of course, as we know, The Last Dance, which was kind of like the final piece to the puzzle in terms of absolutely helping Jordan 1 popularity to explode. The Last Dance really shone a spotlight on MJ's career and some of the seminal moments within it, but in particular the whole idea of the Chicago 1, which MJ famously wore in his last season on his last trip to Madison Square Garden. I can actually remember watching that game live back when it happened and getting quite excited about him wearing the original ones. Albeit they were half a size too small, they made his foot bleed, and owing to The Last Dance, the popularity of Jordan 1s continued to explode in this pandemic moment. So fast forward 2020, 2021, and now into 2022, and I think what we're now looking at is a real stultification or just a sense of boredom that people have now for the Jordan 1. And this is, I think, one of the main reasons why people aren't into Jordan 1s anymore. It's just because we've been beaten over the head with the Jordan 1 silhouette somewhat ad nauseum now for the past 2 or 3 or 4 years. And like anything, all good things must come to an end, and the boredom and the oversaturation and the overplayed aspect with regard to the Jordan 1 has kind of taken its toll, where people are just done with it now. So that, in my opinion, is pretty much like, in a fairly truncated form, the rise and fall of the Jordan 1 silhouette over the past few years. It's been incredible to see just how popular the Jordan 1 has become. For me especially, knowing how unpopular it used to be, given the fact that they used to go on sale and used to be so cheap. And so with that in mind, I now want to segue into my own Jordan 1 collection and share with you my favorite Jordan 1. So let's get into it. So I actually sold off a lot of my Jordan 1 collection during the peak of the hype, just because I bought a lot of these sneakers so cheap, and the fact that they were going for so much money and there was so much demand and they were so easy to sell made for like a bit of a no-brainer for me to get rid of a lot of the sneakers that I'd bought on sale. But I have held on to a few of them, and one of the few pairs I've held on to in terms of the original colorways are these, the Royals from 2017. You can see these have been very thoroughly worn and beaten, and one of the cool things I like about the Jordan 1 is that the more you wear them, the more they look good, in my opinion. Next up are the Kentuckys, or the Storm Blues. This is a pair that I've had for a number of years, and I can remember these sitting back in 2015. My favorite Jordan 1 of all time are these, the UNC ones. I was telling you earlier about how I bought these when they went on sale. I actually bought a few pairs of these, and I remember even I gave a pair away to a client of mine. I just asked them if he wanted them. One of the best Jordan 1 releases in recent times are these, the Mochas. Now, I've actually had the Travis 1s before, I got rid of them, but I got these back, or got these to replace them rather, just because they're so simple. I ended up getting these for like a really good price off a reseller friend of mine who sold them to me for £250. I think one of the most underrated Jordan 1s in general are these, the pine green ones. The color blocking is really awesome. The color blocking's not too dissimilar to a lot of other really popular colorways like the shattered backboards. It's just the pine green, but it's also the quality. The quality on the leather is really decent. You can probably pick it up there a little bit. The tumble is really nice, very soft, and as a result, very comfortable to wear. So that's probably the most underrated Jordan 1, in my opinion, the pine greens. Next up, the legendary shattered backboards. What more can you say about these? This is the sneaker that I was talking about before, where in 2015, this was kind of like the Jordan to have. Remember, in 2015, most people were all about Adidas and 350s and Ultra Boosts, but the people that were still dedicated to the Jordan brands were massively into these. So I do have a few hyped up pairs of Jordan 1s. I used to have a lot more. I used to have like the Travis 1s. I used to have the off-white Chicagos. I've had the EU off-whites, but the only pair that I've held on to are the UNCs, just because it's my favorite colorway. And I got these for like a really good price on the resale market. I actually got these in an online Facebook auction, which was pretty cool. And the only pair of One Lows I have, and the only pair of Travis 1s I have these days, are the Mocha Lows. You can see I've got the old pink laces vibing in them, and yeah, I actually got these in a pretty opportunistic fashion. A friend of mine who's a reseller had these up for a good price, and I just decided to jump on the price. But after wearing these, I was actually like, wow, they're comfy, they're light. I actually did some boxing in these, and so now they're kind of like a regular wearer for me. So yeah, there you go. So here's another one of my hyped up pairs, the Union Black Toes. Now, I actually got these for retail in a roundabout way, because I got off-white 4s in a raffle, and I ended up getting a size too small in the off-white 4s. And so I ended up trading the off-white 4s that I got for retail for these, which are in my size with OG All. So this was a pretty decent come up, because like I was saying before, the Union 1, it's just simple. You know, the quality's great. the craftsmanship's cool, and the idea is just so simple. So I have a couple of other pairs. I have like the Amamaniers, I've got Court Purples, I think I might have 1 or 2 pairs up in the loft, but those are all the pairs that I have in my little display room here, and those are the pairs that I wanted to share with you today. So those are my Jordan 1s, and that's my take on the whole rise and fall of Jordan 1s. It's not one of my most favorite Jordan silhouettes. I don't really find them that comfy. They are good looking for sure. They easy to wear with a variety of different outfits, but they're just not one of my most favorite Jordan models. They're in my top 10, but definitely not in my top 5. But I think it's good for any collector to at least have a few pairs in the collection, and so those are the pairs that I have to share with you today. So I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I want to thank you again for your wonderful audience. And if you haven't already subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button, and I look forward to seeing you fellas on the next video. Thanks again, and have a lovely day. Peace.